Hi. Hello, folks. I am Kushagra Gaur and I welcome you to Saturday Night Live. Thank you for joining in. Let me know in the chat if you're here. Uh, and a hi so that I know you're here. We just wait for a few more minutes and then we'll start. Which target should we do today? Oops. There was one target which was an interesting one from last few days. Which was it? Yeah, from May 17th. This was, looked trivial, but I'm sure this would have some amazing approaches in the top solutions. I like doing such targets where it is seemingly easy, as in the straightforward solution is very easy. You can build it in a few minutes, but doesn't matter how the target is. If you see the top solutions, they will blow your mind. That's for sure. So we can do this May 17th one. And if there is time, probably the May 15th one also. There was some discussion around this as well. Uh, some solutions got 99%, even though this is very straightforward, doesn't have any curves and all, but still, some players got 99.9% on some solutions. So if there is time, then maybe this one. But we can start with the May 17th one. Just wait for one more minute. If you are new here, this is Saturday Night Live. We try to do this every Saturday night. Last Saturday, there was some internet issue, so that's why we could not do it. So that is being done today. It was postponed, so it is being done today. But yeah, Saturday night is what we plan to do every week. And the main thing that we do on the streams, on these streams, is reverse engineering the top solutions of daily targets. So yeah, very fun, very learning experience. It's really great to try to figure out the approaches and the creative solutions that these players do. And then the point when you actually understand the solution, that's the aha moment of every solution. That's what I do these streams for. Just blows your mind when you realize what the solution tries to do and how it achieves the target. Yeah, so that's what we do on these streams. You can subscribe to our channel if you want to get notified for the future streams. We also put it on the Discord, our Discord server. You can find the link on CSSBattle website. Do join our Discord server. It's very fun to hang out there. Amazing players there, and a lot of discussions happen, primarily around daily targets and the way people solve them. Yeah, it's fun. You should come there. Cool. I think we are at time. So let's do our first target of the stream, and it's gonna be one from May 17th. Again, like if you're here, please let me know if I am audible correctly, if the video is uh, fine, if it's showing fine. Let me know in the chat so that everything is fine. Cool. Okay, the one from May 17. This is what we want to do. And let's fire up. Oh yeah, before we even like go to the top solutions, like we always do, let's discuss about some trivial approaches that you could use to build this target. Okay, so um one thing that comes to my mind is you create a box in the center, in the very center, you create this box and put a horizontal gradient on it, which starts from yellow. So, like, imagine this is a box. Video is good, audio is good. I can't say I have a meeting soon. It's okay, Joe. But yeah, thanks for coming in. Thanks for stopping by. Hi. Okay, yeah, so I was saying, like, this could be a box, a yellow box, and you create a horizontal gradient inside it. Starts from yellow with a hard stop here, a little bit of black, then a hard stop here, and then yellow again. So yellow, black, yellow, that gradient is there. And then you want to create um, these transparent corners on the box, right? So one straightforward thing you could do is create four boxes, four different boxes, set them to the background color itself, and then position them in the corners of the main box, and that would give you this. That is one idea. Uh, these four corners could be individual boxes as well. So imagine like this is a box, a yellow box, and in fact, like this could be a box. This could be a box, same color as the background color, or maybe maybe set to transparent color. And this has a box shadow, uh, with offset -y and x, positive x and negative y, with a yellow color box shadow, right? So this would give you, just tone down the volume a bit. A background music is a little bit louder. Yes. Uh, so we were talking about this box being the main box, and then a box shadow here of yellow color, and then a box shadow of black color around the yellow one. And the box shadow would be half the width we need, half this width, right? This width and this width is same. So half of this would be a box shadow. We want to take just half of the black because the other half would come from this one, from this one, from this one, right? So half and half will make up a whole black length that we want. So yeah, these boxes with with two box shadows. So same on the four corners, and that should give us this. What else? Um, yeah, I think those two approaches come to my mind. So that is how you can create this target. But now let's move to what we are here for, reverse engineering the top solutions. Okay, so the top solution is 125 characters long, and the record is held by Ilya and also by White. So both are on 125. Let's load up Ilya's solution and try to figure out what magic his solution is doing. Okay, I know I still don't have a plugin to unminify the code. So let's do it the old way. There's a border block, there's a margin, there's a background, rotation, and then another rule. This one. Okay, yeah, so now that we have the unmodified code, let's comment out everything so that we can start from very scratch. Oh, interesting. Okay, so this is what we have without anything. All right, so the solution doesn't use any HTML tag. So that means by default, we get a HTML and a body tag, two tags for us. The first rule that the solution has is all selector, which means like a universal selector applies to everything. So this would apply to HTML and body both. The first declaration that the solution has is a border block. So border block is what do you call it? So it's a shorthand for putting a border, putting the borders on the block sides of an element. And for our case, block means top and bottom for the English language. So border block basically sets the border on the top and the bottom edge in one go. And what this is doing is it's setting a dash border of yellow color, the width being 5 ch. So ch is like the length of zero character, I suppose. Yeah. So zero character 5 times the width of the zero character in whatever the current font is. So 5 times that is the length that this sets for the dash border. Now, like you might think, this is setting a border on the top and the bottom edge. So why do we get these double borders, right? It should have been just um, single border, one on the top and one on the bottom, right? Just one line of dash border. So that um, is not how it looks because remember this is being applied on the star selector, which is HTML and body both tags for us, which are there. Let's just fire up the DevTools also. Okay, so just and yeah, sorry. Okay, so if we go inside the iframe, the preview iframe, we have this preview of ours, which has HTML and a body, and you can see both the body and the HTML. They have the same border. So this is our body. This has the border. So the inner one border, the inner one that you see, that's the body, and this is our HTML. It also has the same border on it. So that's why you see this. Mhm. Yeah. This. Cool. All right. So now that we have the border, the next declaration that we have on the star selector is the margin. And that means the top and the bottom edge would get uh, pulled outwards, right? They will be pulled because of the negative. Positive pushes, negative pulls. So they have been pulled outside. So if I reset to this to 0, you can see like we get the borders again. Now remember, like this is a little different from what we were seeing earlier without the margin declaration, and that is because there is the margin on the body tag you get by default from the user agent from the browser, which is 8 pixels. So if you put this back to 8 pixels, this is what we were seeing earlier without the margin, right? Oh, it's a little different. Okay, so yeah, I just added the 8 pixel margin on star, which means HTML and body both, but it's default only on the body. When you start a web page, when you have a default web page, it's just on the body. But because I had it on star, it was showing a little different. But yeah, point being, default was 8 on the body, but if we reset it to 0, this is how it would show, right? Because there's no gap between the body and the HTML tag, so they have collapsed. They're touching each other. So if I start pulling the top and bottom edges of both HTML and body tags, they would start getting pulled outwards. Because the HTML would get pulled, the body would get pulled as well because it's inside the HTML tag and takes up the complete height by default. And then there's a negative margin on the body itself also. So that pulls the body further outwards, right? So some pulling from the HTML because that's being pulled, and the body itself is getting pulled. So sort of double pulling on the body, right? That's what we have seen in like a lot of these top solutions, where you have some margin on the star selector, so that basically cascades as you go deeper in the hierarchy. So some parent would have X margin, and then if you have that X margin on the child itself, um, it would apply uh, twice inside the child. And if you go deeper, it would start cascading, it would keep aggregating. Cool. So I think my internet is lagging. Still some internet issues. But no problem. We're still gonna continue. Not gonna stop today. I hope I'm at least audible. Cool. Let's get back. So we were talking about the negative margin. So if I reset it to zero, this is what we see. And now if I start pulling it a little bit, you can see the borders would go outside and slowly go away from the screen, right? They'll get out of the screen. So I keep, so they're going outwards. If I make it 20, sorry, negative 20. You see the HTML border has gone outside the screen. We are seeing the body border now. Now even that would go out if I keep increasing this in the negative direction. And at minus 40, this just goes out of the screen. And we can confirm what we just assumed if we just inspect. Right, so you can see this is the body. Remember, this white area is where our viewport ends, and then you can see the body is exactly at the edge of the viewport. So all the border is just outside the viewport, the viewing area that we have. That's why we don't see anything. This is the body, it's outside, and then HTML is on top of that. So yeah, that's outside as well. Hmm. Cool. Next thing that we have on the star selector is this background. So this should set 28, 20, 28, which is a variation of gray color that gets set on the HTML and the body also. And then we have the rotation property being set on again HTML and body both. So that should rotate these two elements by 90 degree, right? If we toggle this on, yeah. So as expected, like this won't change anything because again, if you remember, our borders are outside the viewport. So even if you rotate it, they'll stay outside. Uh, they'll shift the, I mean, this thing will shift the borders from top and bottom to left and right because they've tilted 90 degree, right? And we can actually verify this. If I turn off the margin, we'll get the borders back in the viewport and then we can see what happens with the rotation. So this is how the borders are without the margin, without the outwards pull. So if we rotate this, we can see what happens. Did you notice something? It's like again the same thing that happened with margin. So this is, let's say if we reset it to zero, there's no rotation on anything. If we start rotating, notice just what happens with when we increase the rotation. So this is 0, this is 10. You see what happened? Exactly 10 degrees is being applied. A rotation of 10 degrees is being applied to both body and HTML. But you can see in the preview, they are not rotated by the same amount, right? Probably this is the inner one is the body. So this is the body, parallel lines. And then this is HTML. There's an angle between them. They're not parallel. So they didn't tilt by the same 10 degrees, even though we have the same rotation on both. And the reason again is the same cascading. Just like margin applied differently as we went inside a parent deeper. Same thing happens with rotation. So this rotate gets applied on the HTML first of all, as in not in that order, but like if we just like, for the sake of discussion, let's say 10 degrees get applied on the HTML tag. So HTML rotates by 10, and so will all the children inside it. So we'll also see the body rotated by 10. But remember, this gets applied on the body as well because it's star, right? So because of HTML, the body looked rotated 10 degrees, but the same declaration is on the body itself. The body also has to rotate 10 degrees from its normal position, right? From its position relative to parent. So the body now tilts 10 also. So the end result becomes we see the HTML rotated, which is the parent. We see the parent rotated by 10, and then the body relative to the parent rotates by 10. So eventually, in sort of like the global coordinate system, you see the child rotated by double the amount of parent, right? So in our case, the body actually looks rotated double the amount of HTML tag, which is like HTML rotates by 10, so the body rotates by 20. The HTML rotates by 20, the body rotates by 40. And if this rotates by 40, the body rotates by 80. And you can now imagine, like, you can now calculate if the HTML rotates by 90, or let's go in steps. So this rotates by 50, body rotates by 100. If it rotates by 60, body rotates by 120, 70, 80. And now notice what happens if I make it 90. When the HTML rotates by 90, you can see the body gets back to its original position, original rotation. And that is because when HTML rotates by 90, you can calculate the body would rotate by 180. And that means basically if the body was like this, it just flips direction, right? It's sort of like left becomes right and right becomes left. But you see the same thing. Like when it comes to this dash border, you won't notice, like if the left and the right edges swap each other, swap positions, you won't notice that. So the end result is the body looks as if it didn't get impacted by the rotation, and that is because like it rotated by 180, which is a horizontal flip, and looks the way it was earlier, right? Nothing changed. But the HTML is now rotated by 90 degree, right? Just again, so that I see it. So just, I mean, the body gets back in the same rotation, but look at the HTML tag, what happens to it. So it's getting rotated more and more. So you see this void created, very interesting output of these three declarations. Uh, HTML is supposedly running like this. I mean, the border of the HTML is like this, right? It was horizontal earlier, but we have it tilted by 90. So it should be running like this, right? And we can verify this if we select HTML, right? You can see the two margins that you see. That is basically like how the HTML is aligned right now. So this is HTML tags border, but you don't see anything here. And that's an interesting outcome, because the body is here, body is on top of HTML, and it has a background as well. Both have the same background, but because the body has a background, you can't see anything behind the body, right? But because the body shows first on the top and HTML is behind it. So the background set on the body basically hides the border on the HTML tag, right? And that's why we see this thing. We just see these four like boxes, and then the complete HTML is just hidden from sight because of the body on top of it. And now let's get back the margin. Let's actually reset it to 0 so that we can see it slowly what happens. Right? So this is by default, not by default, like this is by default, but if we set everything to 0, this is what we get. The 8 pixel default gets removed from the body. So now if we try to increase the margin in the negative direction, everything would get pulled outwards, right? Let's do that. You can see like everything is getting pulled outwards. So as we go more and more negative, gets pulled, gets pulled, gets pulled out of the screen. So that's where we were. There was a border. It was pulled outwards just at the edge of the viewport. The borders are around the viewport, sort of. We set a body, background on the body and the HTML, and then everything is rotated by 90 degree, which ends up being a 90-degree rotation on the HTML tag and a 180-degree rotation on the body, which is a horizontal flip. So that's where we are right now with the first rule set. Then we have this. And if you remember from the last streams, ampersand is basically a shorthand, a code golfing shorthand for the HTML tag. So this rule set basically is setting some specific declarations on the HTML tag only, right? This applied to both HTML and body, and now we want to set few things on the HTML tag specifically. So let's see what this is doing. First thing that this rule set sets is a margin, right? And specifically on the margin, we're setting a margin. Specifically on the HTML tag, we're setting a margin, a positive one of 90 and 100. Whoa, straight to the solution. Okay, but let's move in steps and see what's happening. So remember, like this is what we have. So on HTML right now it's minus 40 and 0. So the top and the bottom borders were pulled outside, but they were also rotated by 90 degrees. So they are pulled like this now. And then we try to set a positive margin on the HTML. So now they will be pushed inside, right? We originally pulled it, and then this declaration, specifically on the HTML, pushes everything inside, right? So if we reset the minus 40 to 0, so that is how it becomes. There's no more a minus 40 pixel pull. But one second, why does HTML show like this? It should have been like this, right? The borders of HTML run like this vertically. So why do we see it horizontally? Oh, I see. Okay, it's not HTML actually. Uh, with with the minus 40 pixel removed from HTML, we start seeing the first border that you would see this is the body's border, right? Not HTML's border, because body is inside HTML, it's the inner element. So if you start pushing the HTML inside, you start shrinking it and start pushing the edges. The first thing that you would see coming inside the viewport is the body tag, right? So that's what happens when we reset the margin on HTML. The negative 40 pixel gets set to 0, and then you start seeing the border of the body tag. Remember, this is the body which is flipped 180 degree because of the cascaded rotations on the body tag. So 0, 0 basically gets us this, but the solution doesn't stop at 0, 0. It had uh, uh, like a more positive margin set, so that will push things further, right? So if we try increasing it, you will see this starts getting pushed more and more, and now you can see HTML's border coming in inside the viewport, right? So if I keep pushing it, oh, do you see what's happening? If I keep pushing it, they come towards the center, these things, right? The border of the body, the border of the HTML tag at 90 degree, they keep coming in because of the push from all sides because of the positive margin, right? They keep coming in, and you can see these things trying to connect with each other, right? These two, and that's what we are trying. Yeah, the solution tries to create this yellows from the dash elements of HTML and body. So you see where it's going. Like the borders are not getting used to create this what do you call this L shape. It's the individual elements of the dash border that are being used to like connect them and create this L. Do you see what's happening here? Super crazy. So like, if we keep increasing this slowly, you'll see that L starts getting formed a little bit. 90, 70, 80. Yeah, quite close. And that's I just hit the number, hit the sweet spot by hidden trial. I didn't remember it was 9000. Is it 9000? Uh, yeah, it's 9000. So that's a sweet spot at 90 top and bottom margin and 100 left and right margin. You get this. So this is just one element from the dash border of the body tag, and that's connected with the single element of the dash border of the HTML tag. Such freaking crazy. So they are now connected with the proper margin and all, and that forms this, right? So now we have the element of the target, as in the central, the meat of the target, that's there. And all we need now is this cyan color background, right? That's all we need in the target. So that this is strange now. Like what we need is the background, proper background color behind our target's main element, but all we have left to uncomment is the outline property. So somehow this outline is giving us background, right? So let's uncomment it, and of course we should get the target as expected. But how does the outline set a background? Okay, I see. So again, to understand this, let's make the outline a smaller, uh, let's reset it to 0 so we don't see any outline. And of course, like this outline is setting a cyan color. I mean, it's a cyan color outline, exactly the color that we need for the background. And if you notice here, it's a solid outline, of course, uh, but the unit that this outline is using is in inches. So whatever amount you set, it gets set in inches, right? So let's increase this slowly, step by step, and see what happens if we reach that proper value of outline width. Okay, so if I put in a 0.1 inch outline on just the HTML tag, remember just the HTML tag, so you can see clearly like this is our HTML tag. It has vertical running borders, basically block borders, but they have been tilted 90 degree, so they sort of look inline borders now, but semantically they are block borders. But at the proper width, proper margins that we have set, all we get are just these two elements on both the borders. For the left one, we get these two elements in whatever space that we have left inside the HTML tag because the margins. So the dash borders, they have these elements, right? The dashes. So in this particular width, height, it's actually width, but it's rotated, so it looks like a height. But yeah, the point being like in this dimension, all we can see is like two elements of the dashes of the border. So two dashes uh, are here, and that's what like makes our HTML tag. And that is now having a outline of zero point 0.1 inches. And if I keep increasing, you basically start seeing this border sort of thing coming outside from coming around the HTML tag, right? That's what happens. If I keep increasing it, you can see if you just like make it a big number, eventually what will happen is it keeps filling the space behind HTML tag and slowly um, overshadows the background because the outline is on top of the background. So more width on the outline basically creates a sort of layer on top of the background color and overshadows it. So all we need to do is like reach a smallest amount here so that we have a enough outline to overshadow the complete background of the HTML tag. So that's what we want. So 2 and 3, it's same, right? So that's the target we want to achieve, right? And this is inches because inch is a big unit. Like even with a small numeric or a small value uh, in front of it, you can get a big amount, right? So we want to have a big shadow in the smallest number of characters that we can write. So inch is a good unit to be used here because even with a 1 or 2 inch, you can get a big width. So there we have there we have the target. Uh, Crazy trick. Cascades being used a lot for the margins, for the rotations, and like great imagination to get the individual dashes to connect somehow, like precisely, and create this thing, right? Who could imagine like this being created from two dashes of different HTML tags, right? HTML and a body, two different elements creating this harmony to create a shape. Super amazing. Hats off. Crazy solution. Wow. Oh man, blows my mind every time. Okay, so there's wide solution as well, which is same number of characters. Let's look if it's the same thing. Yeah, I think it's the same. Yeah, even the declarations are exactly the same. Yeah. We can have a quick look at this one too. So it's Alexia's solution, which is 6 characters longer and seems to be a different approach using a conic gradient. Yeah, we can fire this up and see what's happening. Okay, quickly unminifying this border. We have a margin, and then there is universal selector one. Okay, so there is this universal selector has some declarations, and then it has a nested universal selector. So this means like everything, which is HTML body, and it's something inside something, which is body only in our case. That's the only element which is inside something. So this applies to body. So this is basically everything, which is HTML and body, and this is just for the body to make it more readable. Okay, if we comment these two out, start from here. So what this solution does first is set a border on both HTML and body. It is setting a, what is this color? 5-1. Yeah, it's a cyan color border on both HTML and body. 106Q, that's the length the solution chooses for some reason. We'll try to figure that out. But it's a dash border again, a cyan color dash border. Doesn't look like there is being border set on two elements because I think it's a very big number, which it makes it difficult to like visualize how the borders are actually playing out here. So we can do what we do every time here. Reduce this to a very small amount. You can see like with the 10Q, Q is a very small unit, right? So even like a 10Q in contrast to the 2 inches that we had earlier in the earlier solution, 10Q creates a very small sort of length for the border, width for the border. So that's 10Q dash border on both the elements. And then if you keep increasing it, right, the border becomes thicker and thicker. What happens if you make it thicker and thicker, right? They seem to be coming towards the center. They seems to be going inside. What happens after like they don't have any space left? So this is sort of like we've kind of reached the extreme. But if we go even further, you see what happened? There was space for 3 dashes earlier. So this is how it showed. Remember, these are like two different dash elements. Like this is dash of the top border, this is dash of the left border. But since there's no space, like they're sort of like automatically connected to create the shape. But then, if we keep increasing the border size, the border width, there's not enough space for even like three dash elements in the top and the bottom borders. So it reduces the number of dashes to accommodate the dashes because of the more width. And then so it reduces from three to one. So this is what would happen. And now all we have is like two dashes in the top and two dashes. They are connected here, so it doesn't look like it's two, but it's two dashes in the left and right borders as well. And if we keep going further, it just reduces to one dash. Or maybe two dash, they're connected together. We can't say for sure. But yeah, this is what happens. Like, so this is the body, this is the HTML. HTML has one border in the center and then one here, one here. So it's three for the HTML, right? Two on the left and right and three on the top and bottom. But if we even go further, the same thing would happen with the HTML tag as well. It would reduce to two borders in the HTML. Body probably is, I think, one, but again, can't be sure. Does it show up here, like individual borders? No? No, it doesn't show. It doesn't show you exactly where each dash ends. So you can't tell for sure, like if it's one border or two right now, as in, sorry, two dashes or one dash. We can't tell that for sure, but we know whatever like the dash number of dashes are here. They don't have enough space, so they are sort of connected to each other, and like it shows like a single line. And we just like keep increasing it, no space. So this body, the borders on the body have no space at all now. It's just like one big dash, I suppose. I think now for the body views, there's no enough space. For the HTML, we still have two, but the solution goes further, 100. So remember, like, you don't see the body in the center anymore. It was in the center earlier, right? You see here, it's in the center. But at such a width, which is a large number, at 100q width set on the body has come down a bit. And that is because like at this width, we don't have enough space for like even the top borders to show and the bottom border to show and the body to show in the between. We don't have space, and because like the top border has become so thick, it starts pushing everything outside the viewport, right? If there is no enough space, everything would go out of the frame. So you can see this is the body. It has gone down because of the border on the HTML, and you can see the border now overflowing the viewport because there's no space left with such a big border. You can't have it all inside the viewport, so everything starts overflowing. But I think the solution uh, takes it to 106. So we keep increasing it, keep increasing it. Remember, this is HTML border. This is a single element of the, I think so, single dash on the body's border. 4, 5, and 6. So now we can understand better what we were seeing earlier, but now we can pinpoint like this is the body tag and we can inspect and verify. So this is the body, like we guessed. No space left for the thick borders to show up correctly. So it's probably just one dash or maybe two dashes intermingled and overlapping each other. So this is all you see, like everything is like just filled inside the body with the borders. So it's all like a green block. But HTML still has some spaces, like it has some it has overflown, right? It didn't have enough space inside the viewport to show up inside the viewport, so it has overflown. Uh, but whatever the dimension is right now, the bottom and the top borders, they have like space to show up two dashes. So this is the space between the dash. This is the first dash and the second dash. So basically at this point, this is what we get. The body here and the HTML borders here. Now it's time to set some margin to make it like, I think, properly positioned. Okay, that's weird. So on both the tags, the solution sets a negative margin again on the block edges, like top and the bottom. So negative means pulling. So now they have been pulled. You can see what's happening. HTML is this. So remember, without the negative, the HTML was like the top was a thick thing and that pushed the body downwards, and body was so the HTML tag was overflowing outside the viewport from the bottom edge. So we try to bring it up. We try to pull the HTML up from the top, from the bottom also, and eventually this this makes the HTML element centered again on the viewport. So it's now overflowing on the top edge and on the bottom edge as well from both edges to finally center it in the viewport. And so does the body also, because it's in the center, right? So this is what we get. Uh, like the only purpose of the margin here is to position the body back to the center, right? So that's what we get. And then the final rule set does something on the body specifically. No more touching the HTML, but we do certain things on the body. I think let's uh, change the background first, and then we can see how the margin specifically on the body comes in and does the dimension setting and positioning and all those things. Cool. Let's uncomment the background. Okay, nothing happened. This is a background. It sets a background image though using a conic gradient. Conic gradient would basically start with a single color, uh, rotate, setting the gradient like it goes in a circle, right? Setting different colors across different angles. So that's what conic gradient is supposed to do. This creates a conic gradient at 20%, 80%, starting with EAC, which is the yellow color. So it starts with a yellow color up till 25%, and then this color thereafter. So this is a shorthand where you give one color stop. This is the first color at 25%, and then like this is the shorthand. If you give 0 to the second color stop, it basically means the 25% becomes a hard stop, and this color starting from 0 0 basically means it won't show up from the start because there is a this color stop. But even if you give it 0, so this is ideally like 25%, but you don't have to write three characters. You can just put 0, because even if you start the second color stop from 0, it won't show up from 0 because you have the first color stop to start with. So you started with 25%, you started at 0, doesn't matter the color stop. The second color stop would only start showing after the first color stop finishes. So just a shorthand to ignore the whatever the number is and just put 0. Okay, so starts with yellow, goes to gray. uh, After 25%, it's all gray thereafter. And then it sets some background position, I think. Is that position? This is a background shorthand, right? Combination of a lot of properties, background properties. So if we can uncollapse this and see that, yeah, it's position. So it sets a background image, which is a conic gradient from yellow to gray, and then it sets a position on the background so that it can be positioned properly, which is X direction, it's 85Q, pushing it right side, and then Y, it's minus 85, so it pulls upwards. But you don't see anything. We don't see anything because I think it's either like too big probably, or it's out of the screen. I don't know. Let's see what's happening. What we can do is maybe try setting this to 0. So if this becomes 0, still don't see anything. This is the body. It doesn't show anything. What if we set a different background and see, does it show up? No. Okay, so no matter what we are setting on the body, it doesn't show anything. And why is that? Probably because all we see on the body is the dash border, and the borders are so thick. It's such a big width. So they're so thick that borders show up above the background, right? So if you have a very large border such that it kind of like just overshadows it overlaps the whole element itself, you won't see the background which is behind the border, right? And so the sign color borders basically just overlap the background of the body, and that's why we don't see any change. Hey, Center the Devs, thank you for joining in. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to Saturday Night Live. Center the Div says border is still blocking it. The negative margin gives it space. Yeah, that's correct. So we don't see anything on the background, the body's background, because it's still border completely filling the body tag. So like Center the Div said, this negative margin will kick in, and the negative margins, you can see the negative numbers, big negative numbers on the body, they pull the edges outwards and creates more space inside the element for the background to show. So that's why we need this margin. Let's just uncomment this, and of course we have the target that we want, but let's try to see how the cone gradient is working. Oh, you can see the body has become so big, right? Minus 800 pixels, that's a big number. So it stretches the body so much with the margin. It stretches, it pulls and stretches the body so much that we get this somehow. But yeah, let's see why. So if I now comment the background declaration, you can see what happens with just the margin. So this is the body without the margin. So it's right here. If I inspect it, it's right here. It's right in the center. All we see is the sign color, which is the border, right? Just the thick border, nothing at all inside the body is seen. It completely overshadows the background, like we discussed. So now let's set it to 0, and so this margin is now enabled. So as we slowly increase the margin in negative direction, the body's edges would get pulled outwards, slowly creating space inside the body tag. It basically, what do you call it? Like it scales the body, not the transform scale, but it like makes it bigger basically. It makes it bigger so that even the thick borders would now start leaving space inside the body for the background to show up. So if I keep increasing it in negative direction, you can see like the body is now having space, more and more space for the background to show up. And since there is no background set on the body, the default white background shows. Right? So now if we see what the body looks like, this is the body. If I keep increasing, you can see the body is becoming bigger and bigger. Negative margin, remember, pulls the edges, so the element is actually getting bigger because of the negative margin. So we are just like increasing the body more and more and more, and similarly in the and similarly in the inline direction, which increases the size, the inline size of the body tag. So this is what the solution does, increasing the body size with the negative margin, right? So let's make it a decent size element. This is the body. Okay. So this is good enough size just for like understanding what the background does after this. Uh, this is the body. The white area that you see, that is the background showing up, and around the white box is the border of the body. Cool. Now, just to be sure about the background of the body, if we set it to red, you can see we see the red background. Cool. Now we can see what happens if we set the background image specifically. Whoa. Okay. Interesting. So the conic gradient actually created what we wanted, but how? What if we turn off the border on the HTML tag? Okay. Hmm. Oh, I see. Okay. So remember the conic gradient is basically creating a gradient uh, on angles, right? It starts with some color, color one, and then it goes like this in a circle, like increasing angle. So it starts with probably like black, or it starts with yellow, I think. Whatever, doesn't matter. So it starts with one color and then moves to a different color at a hard stop, then moves to a different color, right? But then if you clip uh, the visual area of a conic gradient, so it has to show inside a box, right? This conic gradient, even though it's a gradient being set at angles, it's still a background image on the box, right? So whatever gradient you set, it has to show in a box eventually. So even though it was a gradient created in a circle, when you clip it to a box, which is the viewing area of the body tag or whatever HTML tag, it would show something like this, right? So this is like, imagine like you start here with black color. So you go like this and you keep changing colors like black and yellow. But I wonder where's the center of this gradient? Because if you start somewhere here, you can't get this thing, right? It would be an angle here. Like this can't be a 90-degree angle. This has to always reach the center. So if it's a 90-degree angle, that can only mean the center of the conic gradient is here. But is that so? It's actually sitting, oh, okay, it's just on the body. Is it really on the body? Why do we see it overflowing from the body? Where is the body tag? Let's make it smaller, even smaller, so that it's more clear. Wait, 1 second. What's happening here? Ah, I see. Okay. So in the last stream, if you remember, I enjoy CSS battles a lot. Battles a lot. This solution is really clever. I'm learning a lot. Yeah, same here, Sensitive. Like every solution, I just like learn a ton from the different properties and the different approaches that get used. Yeah, super amazing experience to reverse engineer these. The at 8020 size at the end makes it do this. Yeah, I mean that is there, uh, but this was the thing I was talking about. Like this is a body, so I understand like the gradient inside it would do something like this. But then what is this thing, right? The gradients shouldn't have the gradient shouldn't have leaked from the edges of the body, right? So if I put let's put a border, let's put outline. How doesn't show? Okay. So the body is too big for the outline to show. Should we shrink it more? Okay. So yeah, so this is the body. This is the body, right? You can see like this is the body. I have some background put on the body, so it shows up inside the body. This is the border of the body. But then what are these? Why does the same backgrounds, I mean, it looks like same background. Why does the background set on the body start showing outside the body? And that is where, like, if you remember the last stream that we did, we talked about the backgrounds, special case of the background set on the HTML, on the body, and then also on the canvas. There's a special case where if you don't have any background on the HTML, and you set a background on the body, it gets applied on the root canvas, right? Sort of HTML tag, but it's actually root canvas, which is like the infinite area you have on a web page, which even like extends outside the viewport, the viewing area. But it's like whatever you set on the body, it's on the root canvas eventually, if you don't have anything on the HTML tag, that is. But if you set something on the HTML tag, then the body background stays on the body, and then the HTML background gets applied to the root canvas, which is that infinite area. But uh, with that logic, if you see our case, we have the background just on the back on the body tag. There's nothing on the HTML though. So that means, according to the special case, this background gets applied to the HTML tag, or to be precise, the root canvas, which is like something above HTML tag expands infinitely. So this background is not on uh, body, it's on the root canvas, and that's why you don't see it just limited to the edges of the body, but it's like just behind everything. It's not on the body, it's not on the HTML, it's on the root canvas, which is sort of a parent of both the tags. That's why you see it everywhere. It's just behind it, everything, right? So that's the thing being exploited here. So one interesting thing that we can do is to make it more clear. If I remove the borders from the body specifically, you can see it happening. There's no border on the body now, but you can see that these red borders, also the red outline. I have it so that you can see where the body is like, actually. So even the body is here. There's no border. You can see the background getting applied to the root canvas. So that's that. But still, why does it create this 90 degree? How can a conic gradient create this thing? So if you see what a conic gradient does, let's just see one example. So this is what it does, right? It starts with one color and then just keeps moving at like incrementally across the circle, and whatever stops you give, it puts that color stop at the mentioned angle. That creates this radial gradient, right? Conic gradient, basically. So the interesting thing to note here is the colors would always come to the center, right? Like they converge to the center, whatever. Like the color is, it converges to the center. There's single center from where all the colors sort of bulge out. But that's not what we see here. If I assume this is the center where everything comes, where everything converges, why are there multiple centers? Sorry, like I should have discussed on the preview itself. If we assume this is the center of the conic gradient, then how come there is this center also? How come the yellow and the black converge here? How come there are four different centers on the conic gradient? Is okay, I get it now. It's actually a repeating conic gradient, or not a repeating conic gradient, but it's a conic gradient which has a particular size and gets repeated because the repetition is on by default. I think that's the reason it creates multiple centers. If you adjust it to 50%, 50%, it will show it better. Let's try that. I assume center the div is talking about the position. Oh, okay. It's talking about the center. Yeah, that should give us a better idea. Or does it? I think it made it worse. Oh yeah, we had some. Um, we want to remove the border from the body. Let's make it a little. Okay, what just happened? Didn't seem to do anything. Let's inspect the body. So this is body 200 by 200. There's no border at all. And when we set a background on the body, gets applied to HTML, then it will be a checkerboard and take away the size maybe. Not sure. Let's check that. Hey Chris, hello, welcome to the stream. It's okay. You finally made it. This was really interesting solution, to be honest, much of the top 10. Yeah. Yeah, we are trying to figure it out as well. You're welcome to join us. Okay, so we are at a point where like we have all the properties uncommented out, but still trying to figure what's happening here. Okay, so there's no margin on the body, there's no border right now, there's just a background, which is the conic gradient. We change it to 50%, 50%, so it's centered. The conic gradient is centered at the center of the body, and this is the position. Let's make it zero as well. Zero and zero. Ah, interesting. So now it makes more sense. According to how chronic gradient works, there should always be one center, right? There's one center around which all the stops are at different angles. So that's what we see now. It's much more relatable. The center is at center, which is this. So we start with the yellow color. We go up till some angle. We change it to black, and then it's black all the way to the rest of the angle, right? Which is two, how much? 360 minus 90, whatever is that? 270, I guess. Yeah. So it's all black, and then just 90 degrees off. 90 degrees of the body tag is yellow, which is like 25% of 360 is 90-degree, right? So this is much more relatable. We understand that. But the background image that we have just created, the solution positions it to a particular uh, point, right? And what would happen if you take a background image, right? A background image and then position it elsewhere. So when you position a background image, remember like whatever background you set, and if you don't have a background size, it's the background on the complete HTML, right? 100% width, 100% height takes up all the space. So you have this one tile of the background image, but then if you shift this one tile, you can't have space left around the tile, right? This tile just got shifted. The default background repeating value of a background image is repeat. It's set to repeat, right? So when you move a tile at some position, the space that gets created, it should be filled with the repeating tile. So there you create this tile, and then it's being repeated virtually across like all the directions, all the four directions. So even though you see just one tile instance, like you see just one instance of the tile, if you shift it somewhere, you start seeing the other instances which surround the main tile, right? So that is why if we start shifting it, you see what's happening? There is this another instance of the same tile which starts speaking from whatever direction like we move it in, right? Because you can't have space left. Like it's just the tile is just repeating in all directions. So if I keep moving it, you can see exactly. This is one instance of the tile. It's being moved to the right, to the top, and so the other instances start showing up in the viewing area of the body tag, right? So if I keep moving it, you basically now start seeing four sort of centers that we were talking about, right? So this center, this center, this center, this center. It's not actually one center of a conic gradient. They're actually four different centers of four tiles created with the same conic gradient. That makes sense, right? Let's move it more. So cool. So all we need to do is like just position it in the center. That would be I think, the right, yeah. So you see, we just created this amazing shape, like the plus with those yellow boxes. So this is basically our tile. It ends somewhere here, but since we have positioned it, we have shifted it somewhere, the other tiles start peeking in, and that creates this shape. So cool. Like just the idea of visualizing this and imagining that it could be a single conic gradient and you start exploiting the repeating pattern of a conic gradient to create this, that's wonderful. It's so amazing. Cool. Yeah, I mean that is created, and then like remember we have the borders removed for now because we wanted to understand it. So if we get the borders back, the borders again overshadow the background because it's a very thick border. Border being on top of the background and so big, so it completely overshadows right now. Yeah, so yeah, we don't see the background anymore. But then that is where the negative margin comes in, starts pulling the edges of the body outwards and thereby increasing the size of the body and making space for the background to show up again, right? So we keep pulling it. You can see the body starts increasing in size bit by bit. Now remember, like we have most of the target in place. All that is left is to have these background colored boxes somehow show up and create the exact target, right? So what was the exact numbers again? It's 85 Q for the position and 860. And so let's try to get that. Was it? That's negative, right? So this is the margin that is like the sweet spot the solution reaches for the exact dimension of the body, right? Margin is just to create the right dimension for the body. And this is supposed to be 85. Was it 85 minus 85? 85Q minus 85Q. Yeah. So this is what it does. Uh, Remember again, this is on the HTML tag or the root canvas, not exactly on the body. What do we have left now? Did we touch the margin? It's minus 50. Oh yeah, the gradient uh position. It's not 50/50, it's 20/80. So now if we get it to 20/80, this is what we get, and you might now think like where did the boxes come all of a sudden, right? If I turn this off, this is what we have. If I put in the borders, it completely goes away because of the thick borders. If we increase the size of the body, those boxes come in somehow. Now, what are these? These are the borders showing on top of the background. It's the border of the body tag. They are showing the correct positions on top of the body's background and thereby creating these boxes, right? So this is one dash, this is the another dash, and this is one dash, this is another dash. So remember that L-shaped thing that the border creates when you have it like thick enough to not have enough space for a lot of dashes to show up. So at one particular point, at the right sweet spot, at the right dimension, you get these L shapes at the corner, right? So that's sort of thing we have here, I think. No, no, not actually. So I was wrong. The borders are not creating a L shape. Rather, it's like different things coming in here. So one second, what's happening? So this is the body. Is the body uh, so body is this, right? The yellow area that you see, the orange shaded area that you see, that's the margin, and the blue area in the center, that's the body tag. I mean, that's where the background would show up. But Okay, what if I make the border 0 again? All right, so that is definitely the borders of the body. Okay, so the border is on the body, but the background is on the root canvas. So this thing is basically body's border, this thing, right? So that's how you get this clipped, but then you want to clip it like this also. This is getting clipped because of the border on the HTML tag. Is that so? Oh, that is super interesting. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we can do one interesting thing. So let's do this. Let's set a border color of red, and let's set a different border color here so that we can see it. Whoa, do you see it? It's so clear now, and it's so amazing. I mean, initially I was supposing that the this thing is being created with body's border, but it's not the case. It's crazy. It's actually like the box is created by just the what do you call body's border. I mean, with the dashes of the borders, with the dash of the body border. That's weird. With the dashes of the body's border, that creates this thing, but then you want to clip the background from these areas as well. So that's where HTML's background comes in. So this is how it is right now. Let me recap. So we set a background on the body, right? According to the special case, uh, the background, if you set it on the body, and there is no background on the HTML tag, the background gets applied to the root canvas, right? It just like shifts up to the root canvas. It's not actually on the body, even though if it's written, it's declared on the body. So you have the background set, the solution has the background set, which is this thing. It has the background image on the body. It got sort of shifted upwards to the root canvas. So now imagine the background image is not on the body, it's on the root canvas, right? It's way up in the hierarchy now. It's behind everything. So now there is root canvas on top of which HTML element shows, and on top of that, the body element shows. So the background image is on the root canvas, and then comes the HTML element. The HTML element has its own border set, right? This big width border, which we have as the red color. So if I make this transparent, you can see what happens, right? The HTML tag, which is now on top of the root element, which is always on the top of the root element, the borders of the HTML element clip the root canvas's background to this thing. So that's how. No, let me make this transparent as well. Now everything is clear. So there is just this background being set on the body. It gets sort of what do you call it? Um, it's lifted to the root canvas. So now the complete root canvas has that background, which we created with the repeating conic gradient. So there's this background. And then if you switch on the border of the HTML element, that that helps in clipping this background image on the root to the box that we need, the center box that we need, right? So if I switch this on and make this red, you can see the even though it's dash at the right position, the dashes are sort of like mixing in each other. And so it creates this nice border sort of thing, like a solid border sort of thing, and clips the whole root canvas background. Remember the root canvas background to just the box. I think it's a perfect box. I think 200 by 200 pixels, probably. I can tell it's 400 by 400, but there's some border as well. Yeah, it doesn't matter, but it clips the root canvas background with its dash borders, right? So there's this one level of clipping because HTML being on top of the root canvas, but then we have the body left as well, and that is on top of HTML also. I mean, it's on top of HTML. So the borders on the body tag now act as another layer on top of HTML, which creates the next sort of clipping that we need. So now that we have the box, we want to clip these regions, right? So that's where borders of the body come into play and create that clip. So now if I make the body border from transparent to blue, you'll see what is happening. So the body is running, I mean, the body, uh, if you inspect the body, this is how it is, right? It's a long element um, and has dash borders. So why is it that long? Why is it being set to like, it's a big number, 1800. It's 1800 pixel tall. Why does the solution make it so long? So the reason is we want to achieve a particular height where because of the height of the element, the dash borders are spaced such that you get these dashes at the right places, right? So the body is on top of HTML element, and so the borders of the body would show up on top of the border of the HTML element. And so, like the blue dashes from the borders that you see, these are body's border. They show on top of everything, right? It's the topmost layer. And that creates, when set at the right position, when set at the right height, they are placed such that like they create, they are here, right? And if you just remove the blue thing, there you get it, right? It's the same color as the background, and so it looks like as if like it clipped the actual thing which was there in between. Hey Ryan, hi, welcome to the stream. I hope you're enjoying here. Seems like a great way to gamify the game. Yeah, glad you like it. Cool, mind blown. This is crazy. I mean, who could expect this? You set the background on the body, but you don't want it on the background on the body. You like it would get uplifted to the root canvas, and then you can use the HTML and the body borders to create two levels on clipping on the root canvas background to get this whole shape. Yeah, so crazy. Damn. And this is much crazier than the top solution. They didn't make it to the top uh, code size wise, character count wise, but Alexia, this is crazy. I mean, hats off to your imagination. Super amazing. I don't know what to say. How can someone even imagine this? Wow, crazy. Cool. So I think uh, we are above time anyways. We were able to figure out reverse engineer two of the top 10 solutions, and both really amazing. One using a really crazy uh, combination of cascading margins and rotations to create this target. And this one, of course, like completely blows my mind. Great use of the special case of the background on HTML root canvas and body, and then such precise positioning of the dashes. It's just not about border, remember players, like it's not positioning the borders, it's positioning the dashes, individual elements that you have in the dash border at the right places to create that clipping and hence like this target. Amazing discoveries of the two approaches that we saw today. Super amazing learning experience. Hope you all had fun too, and learned a thing or two in today's stream. Definitely learning experience for me. This would be it for today. We will probably meet next Saturday, 27th, right? Yeah, we should be able to stream next Saturday as well on 27th. No, it's not 27th. It's way before 27th. It is just Tuesday, right? I always wondered how to increase the space between the dashes on the borders. Yeah, just increase the size of the element. More size, more spacing. I mean, it would be more dashes as well, but then the spaces also change. Uh, I mean, yeah, the width of the border and the size of the element both play towards that. Cool. Yeah, so we'll probably meet, most probably meet next Saturday, same time, uh, same channel. Subscribe it if you haven't already so that you get notified of the next stream. I'll see you next Saturday. Thanks for joining in. Hope you had fun. Bye bye.